Hello, my name is Owen, and welcome to a quick review of Frank Herbert's Children of Dune. What I want to do is give a brief overview of the book's about, tell you the things that I liked and tell you the things that I didn't like, and answer the question, is Children of Dune great? Wouldn't you like to know? And you will know, because I'm the arbiter on these things, and I decide whether or not a book is great or not you. Now, for those of you that are at all familiar with my Dune journey, so I read the original Dune a couple of years ago, around when the first movie came out, I think right after it, actually. I really like new movies, by the way. So that's kind of how I got it. It's kind of my stepping stone, right? I'm a fake fan, some would say. But I read the book then, reread it in March, and decided, let's dip my toes deeper into the Duneverse. I said, I'm not going to become a Dune head, not going to read all the books, just want to see what the next step is, right? I'm just going to read Dune Messiah. And you guys are like, oh, great idea, Owen. You must at least read Dune Messiah. And then that's the end of Paul's story. You'll have a good wrap up. And really, like, the first two books, they're like really like tight, right? End of Paul's story, right? So I read the book, loved it, in fact, more than Dune. And I said, oh, well, glad to see the end of Paul's story here. And the comments erupted. You guys came out of the woodwork, having successfully gaslit me into reading the second book when I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to. I thought, I'm interested, but like I could do without it because I really liked the first book as a standalone. You idiot. You can't stop at Dune Messiah. That's not the end of Paul's story. You absolute moron. You got to read at least Children of Dune. And I'm sure after this review you say, you're going to stop at Children of Dune. You have to read God Emperor of Dune. And so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to say that. If you're going to comment it, you don't have to comment it. If you have any listening skills, you will not comment that. Because I'm going to read God Emperor anyway, okay? I'm invested. I am the very thing I swore to destroy. I'm a Dune head, okay? I'm really invested in this world. And you guys were right, obviously. It wasn't the end of Paul's story in Dune Messiah. But in a way, you kind of spoiled it because I shouldn't have known that. And ended up Dune Messiah, I wouldn't have known that. So you guys are actually idiots in that case. But I am glad I read Children of Dune. Obviously, one thing we just got to keep in mind here, right? I'm doing these reviews of the books as I read this series, not in reflective of the series, okay? Just keep that in mind with the comments, okay? Try to think ahead. Try to think forward, right? Kind of like the theme of Dune itself, about thinking about the future, right? And using that to your advantage to benefit society. Let's not spoil future books in the comments of previous videos by telling me whose story is or is not ended, right? Like if I said, Children of Dune is the end of Duncan Idaho's story, don't say in the comments, you absolute moron, he gets resurrected again. Because I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but quite frankly, I don't want to know, okay? I will encounter it on my own terms, okay? That was just as a precursor, but Children of Dune, okay? I thought Dune Messiah was better than Dune. Let's just get that on record before I talk about this book. I think, and this might be a controversial opinion, Dune and Dune Messiah, the vast majority of their existence in the universe is only to set up the payoffs that happen in Children of Dune. Simply preludes to the actual story. Children of Dune is the best Dune book that I have read of the three. Hands down. Quite frankly, it wasn't even that close. And I think, and this is, before I get to talk about the book again, I just got another rant about the Dune heads, okay? Now that I am one of you, I feel like I could speak on this subject. Fans of Dune, we have a marketing problem, okay? And I'm going to say we, so you don't feel as bad about yourself. Why is no one, like when you're saying like, oh, you got to read the Dune books, why is everybody telling new readers that they could stop at book one? Who started that rumor? The absolute fools. And said, oh, well, you could just read Dune Messiah and then be done. Children of Dune is the book that you should be reading. You should say, well, you gotta read Children of Dune. It's the best book ever. You got to read these two books first to get set up for it. This is not a standalone sci-fi book that like has some follow-up books that like expand upon the world. No. Paul is only in existence to serve Leto II. It all pays off in this book. And I feel like I had to force myself to get this far. And now, like I'm thinking in the past, if I hadn't read this far, I would have been missing out on life. And I feel like people aren't harping enough about how good Children of Dune is. Is this not a popular opinion? Somebody please let me know. Because the layman, the normie like myself, we're not hearing hoots and hollers about Children of Dune out there. So we gotta get on the rooftops. If this is a known great book, people gotta be talking about it more. And if it's not a known great book, why is everyone so stupid? Because this is a fantastic book. Basically, and what I mean why it's like a precursor, right? It's like we're setting up all these characters, right? Paul, Gurney, Duncan Idaho, Jessica, Aaliyah, the twins. We're setting them up in the first two books. That way it's civil war, all of Children of Dune. And it's factions, it's who to trust, it's all characters you like and you grew to love in some cases, with opposing interests in the dynamics at play. They're so intense. I spit a little bit. They're so political. It's a fascinating exploration of these characters and their conflicts, their ideologies, bashing against each other. Like Stilgar is a fantastic character in this book, where I felt like in the first two books, kind of one note maybe, but all his character building, like his personality, like it's put to the test in this book, and that it moves the plot. Stilgar moves the plot, guys. His doubts from Dune Messiah, his steadfast love of the Fremen. And that's just Stilgar. It happens with every single character here. One of my complaints about Dune Messiah, even though I liked how short it was like Jessica wasn't at play, right? Jessica enters this book with a vengeance like she never left. She's got her own ideologies. She's got her own background. She's got her own pressures from the Bene Gesserit. It's so complex, and yet it's so simple. It's so simple. And layering on top of that, the whole dynamic of like these multi-level, I don't know how they described it, or to be honest with you, like the fact that the twins and Aaliyah like have the memories of their ancestors, and the psychology, like the psychological exploration of that, of like being able to call upon their knowledge, but also like what that does to your brain, and the new layer of like possession and these personalities trying to take over the body. It is so juicy. It is so sci-fi, borderline supernatural, and it's so fascinating to overlay that on top of just the politics of these just great characters, like with competing interests. Like the fact that it was able to bring back the Baron as the main villain, even though he's been dead for 2 books. Has it ever been done quite like this? I think not. The Star Wars will say somehow Palpatine returned. Dune will just say the Baron has returned by possessing his great granddaughter or whatever. I don't know what the relationship is chronologically. What do you mean possessed? This is a sci-fi novel. Well, the memories of the past, he used the dominant personality. He seduced her for power, and she needed guidance. So he possessed her. And it makes perfect sense. And you tell that to a rando in the street after they watch Timothée Chalamet serve face in the movie films for 6 hours straight. They'll say, wow, it really falls off, doesn't it? That's because you are an idiot and you do not understand. It's perfect. It's simply beautiful. And the conversations that the twins have with each other, and the fact that they allow like their parent personalities come up and have conversations with each other, allow these characters to interact again, even though they're long dead, and just like the weight of the golden path. The twins are fantastic characters. Leto is the main character, right? Leto, is that how we pronounce it? It's not Leto, is it? I did some Googling, guys, and before you say idiot, I had to Google how it's pronounced because I knew you guys would be riled up if I pronounced it wrong. Frank Herbert has called it Leto, right? It falls off my tongue as Leto, like Jared Leto, but alas, we'll say Leto for now. Unless the consensus is otherwise, then please just let me know kindly without spoiling what happens in the next book, idiots. But I'm just joking, guys. It's really not that serious. I'm glad you told me it wasn't the end of Paul's story, because Paul, the whole mystery of this preacher character, right? It's set up very, very quickly. Is this Paul? Is this not Paul? And it is revealed at probably like 2/3 of the way into the book, maybe even sooner than that, like what the answer is. But the fact that I was so engrossed in that either outcome, whether it was actually Paul or whether it was not Paul, would have been equally interesting to me. And Paul's my boy. Paul has been the main character for these 2 books. Obviously, I wanted him to be alive. I wanted him to be the preacher coming back, tearing down his own religion, which is fascinating, by the way. The dynamics at play, the fact that that's his character arc after Messiah and his conflicts, it's simply perfect. Simply redeems him. the psychological torture this man has been going through at the hands of the Bene Gesserit and the other plans at play, the centuries of breeding, and the fact that there's a line, this is a side note, the line about the Bene Gesserit thinking that they could plan generations in advance without thinking that they themselves will change in that process of, it's great line, great concept, really makes me think about it, thinking about the universe. But anyway, what I was going to say was, the preacher, if it wasn't Paul, my question was, I almost don't want it to be, because then who is this character? Who is this guy? And why is he dropping so many truth bombs on us? You know what I mean? Both of those were equally exciting opportunities, so it wasn't about the mystery. It was just like, take me along for the ride. And another one of my complaints, or commentaries rather, about Messiah was like, we were looking at the Dune universe through like a window, right? Like it was foggy in there, a little bit ethereal. We're in the nitty gritty of this book, more akin to the first half of Dune rather than the second half, because first half of Dune, we're in the weeds with Paul. There's politics. It's grounded. He's just a normal guy. His dad is doing some government stuff. Then he drinks the water of life, and he becomes like psychopath. He goes like, I see everything, like follow the path, quickly, action. End of book, kind of dispassionate, lose the humanity. Messiah brings back the humanity, but kind of keeps that dispassionate view of this events. We're in the nitty gritty with the twins. We're in the nitty gritty with Aaliyah. We're in the nitty gritty with Jessica and the former emperor's grandson, and this new character and his dynamics at play. It's just, there's simply no flaws. And I'm not going to lie, when I opened the book and I saw it was 600 plus pages, I'm like, I wish you could have stayed with the shorter books. But knowing like this book is the book that the other books were supporting, like Dune and Dune Messiah are just building blocks supporting Children of Dune as like the story, right? And like I said, I hope God Emperor just like continues that pyramid. Like that's the pinnacle. But regardless, the series has been made infinitely worth it by Children of Dune. And the way it ends with the sacrifice, the golden path, learning about the golden path, uncovering some of these mysteries of this world and these prophecies, and exploring the idea of like the planet and like the terraforming of it, and just there's so many things at play. It's no wonder why Dune heads exist, right? And that's why I gladly joined the ranks of Dune fanatics, because like you could just sit all day and just think about these things, right? And reading like the foreword from Frank Herbert, he's like, I wanted to explore the idea of like prescience and what's the danger if you know the future, like how does that affect people psychologically? Fascinating. He's like, I also want to explore like kind of like the planet like this, or like the economics of like the spice and like them wanting to transform their planet. Fascinating. And it's just like the politics thrown on top of that. Like every aspect of this universe and this story that he's trying to tell is fascinating. Literally no misses. This is a far better book than Dune. This is a far better book than Dune Messiah. And poo-poo on anyone who disagrees with me, quite frankly. Poo-poo, I say. So in the comments, this is what I do want from you guys. Try not to spoil the books for me, even in hints, okay? I am very smart, just letting you know. I can see through those, all right? I'm great at context clues. Read a lot of books, read a lot of stories, okay? So if you think you're clever, drop a little truth bombs hidden in little stealthy ways, I diffuse those. And by diffuse, I mean I spoil myself by figuring them out. But just let me know, like, in terms of like the story arc, do the books get better? I'm reading God Emperor. You don't have to convince me. But is it good? Do you guys like that one? How do you like the books after that? Does it get a little weird? Does it get a little too weird? Because you know what? This book got really weird at the end with Leto's transformation. And when I was explaining it to a friend, he's like, wow, that really went off the rails. No, it was the rails, quite frankly. And I loved it. That was the rails. And we're riding that choo-choo train all the way to Arrakis. But just let me know, like, in the general, as I want the most devout fans to comment, when does the series legitimately fall off? Is it when Frank stops writing them? I just don't know anymore, because I feel like the marketing, the way you guys pitch things, the way the mainstream media presents the series, just don't make sense in my brain, because Children of Dune is a near perfect book. Okay? Just thought I'd get that out there. Is it great? If you don't know that answer by now, but by 15 minutes of ranting, you need to rewatch the video. And this time, you like and subscribe. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the video and want to see more like it in the future. Welcome to Dune, if you like it. and I love it. Thanks for sticking around.